Third day in a row for us here as far as minicamp is concerned. Be an interesting day for us, a good day. Talked to the team this morning about, the challenge of going 3 days in a row. We haven't done that from a practice standpoint. When we get back here in kind of the next phase of training camp, the practices obviously will string together from, 4 and onward as we build towards getting ready for the season. So good opportunity for us today to go out there and improve from yesterday, try to see if we can keep stringing good practices together. We'll kind of have a combination of different situations built in as we've progressed through the different weeks of the offseason, like I talked about. So getting closer and closer to real football. We've had some specific situations over the last couple of days, but now that those are in, kind of completed that, call it third down to fourth down kind of category. So it's good for us. We can simulate a lot more as far as the game is concerned, different, operation standpoints, offensively and defensively, substitutions, situational awareness, calls, and then obviously, continuing to work on our fundamentals, which is, critical for us right now just because we have the extra time to do it. So continual challenge of working on your fundamentals when you're not in pads or equipment. And, guys do a great job of working in the different drills, as you guys will watch early in practice. Still see some of the group periods where we're breaking down different portions of the game, working on specific things, whether it's the run game or the pass game, and really trying to teach it and coach it at a finite level of detail and just make sure that we're all working in the right direction. So, another similar practice to yesterday, a lot of transitions, a lot of movement, but that's kind of the goal.
Added Jermaine Kearse today.
Yep.
What does he bring as a player? And then two, how important is it to have that guy that can help translate, I guess, a scheme from maybe a skill position level?
I mean, as a player, he can certainly make, some pretty ridiculous catches down by the goal line in some pretty big games at the last second, which can give defensive coordinators a problem. So that's one area that I know he can do. I would say beyond that, just a guy that's very experienced here with, obviously, Coach Bevel's offense, another veteran receiver that's, he's tough, he's smart, he's a hard worker. This guy has, fought through his entire career to make him who he is. So just another good player to get in here, evaluate, take a look at, and see how he can help us.
It sort of relates to Ty Johnson, but not entirely. But he's got a defining skill of speed. Can you just see why there's always been an eternal search for speed in the NFL? You can take a track athlete and plug them in and go back into the Olympics of 50,
Sure.
60 years ago.
I don't know. You can tell me about, speed through the history of the game. I mean, there's a lot of fast guys out there. So, I mean, just in general with him, though, the skill set is more than just speed. You can see his quickness, his vision as a runner. He has the ability to get out and catch the ball really well. But look, he's in the mix with a lot of good backs back there. So, in competition, and we're just trying to find out what they all do well at this point in the spring. I'd say his biggest thing right now is just trying to learn, the offensive system and kind of the different nuances of what we do at the NFL game as opposed to the college game. But certainly there are some good things from a talent standpoint out on the field that you can see that he does. And, we'll see what that looks like as we go forward.
A guy like him that doesn't catch a lot of passes in college, how do you go about evaluating that, believing that a guy can do that?
Sure.
It's important to be able to do that.
I would say similar to Carry-On last year, too. That was kind of the questions that we had with him when he came out. Not a lot of route running sort of looks on film, which was one of the reasons earlier in the season last year, talking about Carry-On, we didn't really get into too many specifics because there was things that we were seeing in practice that I knew would take a while for the rest of the league to kind of see, from that standpoint. So, again, we'll see as it goes, as it develops, but certainly those individual drills, those fundamental drills where we're trying to evaluate the guys, their ability to run routes, how they catch the ball. There's definitely a fundamental skill to how you catch the ball and how natural it is for them to catch it, and guys that fight it or just kind of grab it and, take a look at it. So certainly, we get a good opportunity to do that now in a low stress situation, an individual, but then it, increases as we go through like group and team and all that. So, like I said, those guys are, they got a long way to go. They're young players trying to learn as far as, Ty and Carry-On are concerned, and they just got to keep improving from that standpoint. But it's a good time of year to work on it. It's a good time of the year to take a look at it and see where it is compared to maybe what we saw last year or what we saw in film in college.
What was it that you saw that Tom Kennedy during that rookie minicamp
Yeah.
that said, hey, I want to give what we call Scottish?
Yeah. Just a guy that, came through camp. He's smart. He's got a good skill set in quickness. Sometimes with the game of lacrosse and you try to transfer or cross, transcend different sports, things like that. A lot of man-to-man stuff in lacrosse, from that aspect of it. They're running downfield. So you can see a lot of the movement skills when you're kind of manned up on somebody, whether on offense or defense or whatever it is. So what you're trying to do is see if that skill set then transfers over onto the football field. Really smart guy, tough guy, out there, has a lot to learn, as far as the game is concerned. But the skill set, I would say, on the field is kind of what probably grabbed our attention first. And, we'll see how that works as you build it into the team game. A little bit different than some of the individual sports or individual situations where, you may be just kind of operating in your own space, but now you have to incorporate that into 11 guys or the run game or the pass game, things like that. You have to see what that looks like. We not with him. I didn't watch it with him as far as that's concerned. But when our scouts went out and evaluated him as a player, we're trying to look at all different avenues of movement. You're just again had guys from all different sports, wrestlers, things like that we've looked at before, and you can see certain call them football positions that occur in other sports, and how the ankles and the knees and the hips and how all that bends and how they move in space, and try to push that into our game. But you have to see it in football. That's the bottom line. It can look great in another sport, but they have to be able to do it in the game of football. And we're still obviously a long way off in trying to evaluate that.
At wide receiver, what do you really like about the group? Looking at the guys you have coming back, assuming they come back healthy, and the additions you've made in the offseason.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, I think I said yesterday with all of our groups, and the wide receivers are no different. I think those guys are just, they're working really hard. Even, the guys that are on the field or not on the field for all the reps or whatever it is, I think they're all trying to help each other. I think the biggest thing is they're all in a competitive mode, but they're also trying to make everyone in the room better, whether it's in the classroom, in the mental part of it, or on the field with the technique and the fundamentals. That's the part that I love. I love those guys that go out there and just help each other, even though it's a competitive environment. We're all competing, for positions. But, if you can have that unselfishness where you're just trying to help that guy next to you be better, and that if he gets better, it's going to push you to be better, and that kind of all works upward from that aspect of it. I definitely say that's where that room is. Robert Prince does a great job with that room. He's been here as coach that was here last year, and that I kept on staff, and he's just his energy and everything that he brings. He just does a good job with those.
More dangerous, I don't know, maybe in some ways, maybe the emphasis isn't there. We see the tight ends, that you got the emphasis that you guys put on that room this year, but you still got some pretty good playmakers outside of the receiver spot. Sure. Can they be even more dangerous, even if it's in slightly?
Yeah, again, I mean, I'm careful to categorize words, from that aspect of it. I just, hopefully as a team, hope we're better. But I think all the rooms that are there feel they can improve and get better from that category. Certainly in the game of football, things change week by week, and different areas of offense or defense or special teams are emphasized week by week, and how the games play out or how you game plan from that aspect of it. So I think everybody across the board has to be strong. Everybody across the board has to be at the best of their ability, and we have to understand how to utilize them to make us, as competitive as possible.
We saw you.
Go ahead. No, go for it.
We saw you tinker yesterday with the offensive line combinations a little bit. What were you trying to achieve with some of those looks up front?
Again, offensive line is such a unique position where I've said before, you're trying to get five guys to see the game through one set of eyes, and really the leader of those eyes, changes, and when you can mix that and you put different stressors or pressure points on different guys to maybe step up to that challenge or see how they handle it and see what it looks like. It's a great time of year to do that because so much of what we're doing right now is communication, execution, assignment. A lot of that is pre-snap. The post-snap part of it isn't as obviously violent or as, I would say the movement, the pads, the physical part of it isn't there, right now. So it's a good opportunity to see the mental part of that. So moving those guys around is the first step from a mental standpoint. And then once you feel confident that they can handle the different positions, when we get to training camp, then you're going to put them in those positions, see how they handle it physically. So it's kind of like a two-step process.
So Dallas, a guy that's bounced around quite a bit. Just what are your thoughts on his game and where that's at, and the versatility, obviously? That he brings?
I think Joe Dahl, since day one I've gotten here, is a guy that has just worked extremely hard. This is a guy that comes to work every single day to try to improve, try to get better. I think he's really transformed his body. Over the last year, he just looks bigger and stronger, and he moves better. So. We'll see. He's going to have an opportunity just like everybody else out there, but he can be versatile in the inside positions. And again, if you can be flexible or you have multiple roles on the team, you increase your value to the team. And that's something that he understands and he's trying to do. And from an offensive line perspective, a lot of those guys aren't going to really roll out there on special teams. So their ability to be versatile within the scheme of the offense, whether it's different offensive line positions or no different than if it's last year a fullback position or a heavy tight end position, you just give yourself more value as you go forward.
Go back to Jermaine Kearse for a second. You mentioned the familiarity with Daryl's offense. I mean, he's a couple years removed from that. So how much of that translates? How much does it ease the
Yeah.
transition at this point?
Yeah, you know what? When you kind of move into different schemes or different systems, offensively, defensively, the hardest thing to do is really it's the vernacular. It's just learning the language because it is truly like trying to learn a foreign language at that point. So a lot of guys, whether you come from whatever offensive tree or defensive tree, when the terminology is familiar to you, then you can pick up the scheme part of it a lot faster. So it's just being familiar with the terminology, which will help kind of apply the concepts. So when you go out there, you can learn faster or quicker from that standpoint. That's where it kind of ties in from that aspect of it. So no different than, pick any offensive tree, the West Coast tree, the West Coast system. A lot of the terms that are used there are universal. They obviously started way back when with, Bill Walsh in Cincinnati and then San Francisco when it really developed and all that stuff. But the terms and the verbiage that they use is still the same. So it's easier for guys to understand that. They don't have to learn, all right, what does that word mean? And then how do you apply it to the concept? You already know what the word means, and you apply it to the concept. You can go.
Yes, he had obviously in the Super
Yep.
Bowl. What sort of heart palpitations did that give you when he caught it? Have you guys had a chance to talk
Yeah,
about it at all?
we did. We kind of joked about it a little bit, but quickly moved on. But obviously, great little tie into our history together, which is fun. Doesn't mean anything going forward, but it's fun.
Question about Abushi. You're talking about different eyes and all that. He's been with
Yeah.
4 teams in 5 years and starting games with all 4 of those teams. What does that say about his ability to learn, adjust, adapt,
Yeah.
and maybe fit in quickly to what you're trying to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have guys that can do that and kind of, that have moved around and been able to have had success, right? And doing that, that's kind of one of the big keys there. Certainly from a standpoint of knowledge, studying the game, being a smart, aware football player, he's done a good job of that. And that gives him a chance to go out there and then compete physically in that position to see how that, how that works. So great. He's been great. He's been in there, the O-line room. Those guys have been working really hard. And that's another room similar to the wide receiver room we were talking about earlier, where you want to talk about a room with, heavy competition, but guys that are completely unselfish and guys that are just out there trying to make each other better, knowing that in the end, it's going to make everybody better. So it's one of the reasons you love those rooms. Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks.